Well, they nerfed Set pretty hard, but he's got a pretty cool skin now. I wonder if they'll buff him again anytime soon. What's going on, Summoners? Welcome back to another ProGuides patch rundown. This time, we're going to be giving you guys a rundown of every change that's going to hit the live servers as of patch 10.20. This is an exciting patch. We're past the world's balance changes, and now we can finally start seeing some bigger, bolder shifts in power. As always, we're going to be running you through all of the changes that hit Summoner's Rift this patch, and also provide you guys with 5 tier lists, helping you decide which champions to play or be wary of across every role. Also, if you're serious about trying to improve, go to ProGuides, where we've got tons of resources to help you guys out. Go find your coach right now. They're going to help you get into the division you want. For our question of the day, what rotating game mode or previous game mode is your favorite? I honestly really miss Dominion on the Crystal Scar. It was a very interesting take on the game, and it was honestly really fun to be able to play the same champions with a different set of objectives. Let me know your answers in the comments below because I want to know your thoughts. And with that all out of the way, let's jump into the video. To start things off, I want to go over my favorite section. You know which one it is. Yes, it's the skin section. This time, Riot has added Fey Dragon Ashe, Storm Dragon Aurelion Sol, Eternal Dragon Brand, Storm Dragon Lee Sin, Obsidian Dragon Set, and the Prestige Edition for Set skin to the game. These skins look amazing, and I highly suggest you guys consider making the purchase. I know I'm going to make a few of them. Next up, let's go through the balance changes. We do have a systems change we need to go through with the fact that Relentless Hunter has been nerfed. The baseline out of combat movement speed has been reduced from 10 to 5, and the movement speed bonus per stack from 9 to 8. It's been outright nerfed this patch because it's been too powerful. Too many players have been running it because it provides a significant amount of free movement speed. While it'll remain a solid choice, the rune is weaker now and will provide 10 less movement speed when maxed out. Overall, the rune provides too much map mobility for so little of an investment, and something had to be done about it. Alright guys, now with that out of the way, we're going to go into the top lane. We've got a few top lane balance changes, so let's run through them. First up is a pretty big nerf coming to Maokai. He's been a bit too strong and has been arguably one of the most reliable tank champions in solo queue. His Q's damage has been reduced from 70 to 250 to 70 to 230. A 20 damage nerf is a pretty big deal, as tanks typically don't build any damage aside from Sunfire Cape. While there are items like Thornmail and Abyssal Mask as well, these are often situational ones and don't completely compensate for the fact that Maokai is still a bit weaker than before. We've gone ahead and moved Maokai down a tier to reflect this change. He's still a solid pick, but is going to be noticeably weaker moving forward. Next up is Kled, whose base magic resistance has been reduced from 32.1 to 28. Ultimately, this nerf affects him more in the mid lane, while weaker will keep Kled in the A tier because the majority of his matchups remain unaffected. AP top laners aren't as common right now, but those matchups will definitely feel a bit tougher than before. Aatrox has received yet another buff on his ultimate this patch. The healing bonus from it has been increased from 50 to 70% to 50 to 100%. That is right, he's gained 30% more healing in the late game. We think this buff is pretty big, but won't be enough to move him up a tier just yet. The reason for this is the fact that other champions have also received noticeable buffs in their level 16 ultimates in previous patches without much change in their win rates. This one is arguably the biggest buff, but the game often feels decided well before a player hits level 16. It's also by the later stages of the game that enemies are more likely to have purchased Grievous Wounds. Again, this is a huge buff, so we'll encourage Aatrox players to give him a little bit more attention this patch, as he's definitely stronger. We'll continue monitoring his statistics as the patch rolls out to let you guys know he's actually an A tier pick, but for now we'll just say he's on the border. Illaoi has also been buffed up this patch. Her passive tentacle spawn cooldown has been reduced from 20 to 12 to 20 to 8. Like with Aatrox, her late game will be noticeably stronger, and of course this also means that this buff is a sizable one, but probably won't affect her win rate significantly. Illaoi especially isn't a champion we know to be dominant in the late game. She's rather immobile and gets a little bit easier to deal with because this becomes a huge impediment as games drag on. Ranged carries have an easier time cutting through and taking her down once they've got more items, and dealing with her split push threat also becomes more plausible as well. Thus, we're going to be keeping her in the A tier in spite of the buff. While SAMIRA has proven to be a competent solo laner, we'll hold off on placing her in solo lanes for now and see how her statistics develop. So to wrap things up in the top lane, let's run through our strongest picks this patch. Like always, Darius is still OP and players are banning him out left and right. Following him up in the S tier are Fiora, Garen, Jax, Urgot, Singed, Camille, and Shen. Alright, that's it for the top lane, guys. Now let's run into the jungle. Kicking off the jungle changes, we've got another nerf coming to Karthus. This guy cannot catch a break, but time and time again, he ends up becoming OP for some reason in high elo. Across all ranks, Karthus has actually hit a pretty reasonable point of balance, as his win rate is actually very close to 50%. However, in high elo and elite levels of play especially, he's far too powerful. His scaling damage output and incredible clear speed allow him to outclass many other junglers. This patch, his base armor has been reduced from 20.88 to 18. This nerf should hopefully make him more susceptible to jungle invades. As a champion with such a potent late game, it only seems fair that his early game should be a little bit more volatile. By reducing his base armor to 18, it should leave Karthus a bit lower in the jungle and also make it easier to pick him off during jungle invades. It's a close call, but we'll drop Karthus to the A tier for now. In high elo, we believe he'll remain an S tier pick, but for the majority of the player base, this nerf should be enough for us to drop him down a tier. 3 armor might not seem like much, but if it leaves you with 18 as your starting baseline, it's actually a lot more significant than it is for other champions. This is actually perfect because NUNU has received an identical nerf, decreasing his armor from 32 to 29. In NUNU's case, it's not as big of a deal. 29 is still a decently healthy amount of armor to start the game with. NUNU has been extremely powerful in the jungle, and it's surprising that Riot has gone so light with this nerf. We'll leave NUNU in the S tier for now, but if it turns out that 3 armor nerf has destroyed our boy, well, we'll let you guys know in our mid-patch update next week. Realistically speaking, our analysts are pretty confident he's just going to be fine now. Urgot received some pretty incredible jungle changes this patch as well. Considering that he's already doing so well as a top laner, this one has actually come by surprise. The damage cap on Urgot's passive to jungle monsters has been increased from 60 to 360 to 100 to 360. His W also has a 50 damage minimum on jungle monsters now, meaning that he's able to clear the jungle significantly faster than before. We'll wait until our mid-patch update to give Urgot a placement in the jungle, as he'll basically be a new pick. Our analysts expect him to be an A or S tier pick, as he was a pretty dominant pick during his first debut in the jungle a while back. He's since fallen out of the meta, but this change has a pretty good chance of reviving him. Sion has also received a good old buff to push him into the jungle as well. Sion's Q damage to monsters is being increased to 150% from 100%. Like Urgot, his clear speed should be much faster than before, especially because camps like the Raptors and Krugs have so many little guys he can farm. Jungle Sion will also have a nice time farming up and getting tankier with each monster he kills. As opposed to solo lanes where he can get hard countered and zoned, it should be a bit easier to power farm as Sion now. Unfortunately, his ganks before level 6 can be a bit underwhelming, and scaling champions don't really seem like the best option at the moment. We'll also place him during our mid-patch update, so make sure to subscribe to stay alert for that video next week. For our OP picks in the jungle, we've still got HECARIM and Rammus running rampant. Once again, we placed Rammus in this tier because outside of high elo, he's arguably the strongest jungler. His tankiness, reliable CC, and high damage output make him an easy choice for players in lower brackets to hard carry. He's still a decent pick in high elo as well. HECARIM, on the other hand, is dominant across all brackets, and we think both of these guys should be your go-to picks to snowball and carry games. Following up in the S tier are Evelynn, Kha'Zix, Fiddlesticks, NUNU, Rek'Sai, Vi, Elise, Kayn, and Graves. Alright guys, that's it for the jungle. Now let's head into the mid lane. There are some long-awaited changes in the mid lane, but let's start with Kassadin. He's been a pick that a ton of players have been finding problematic recently. His scaling is absolutely ridiculous, and left unchecked, Kassadin can honestly 1v9 games once he manages to hit his item and level power spikes. This patch, his Q shield value has been decreased from 60 to 160 to 40 to 160. Even in AP matchups now, this means that basically any mid laner has an easier time poking him down and trying to create an early game lead. That's pretty much the only counterplay there is to Kassadin. You have to win hard enough early so he can't freely scale up. Kassadin should be a bit more exploitable in this regard, so we're going to go ahead and move him down into the A tier as a response. Katarina is also receiving a nerf this patch. The bonus AD ratio on Katarina's passive has been reduced from 100% to 75% this time around. Assuming she's using both a Gunblade and a Death's Dance, that's going to be about 22.5 damage lost with each strike. With only a Gunblade, that loss is a little bit lower. In spite of this nerf, it still is mostly AP that Katarina builds, and we think that she'll be okay. This will be a nerf that is pretty apparent, but we think that Katarina can still do it. Her incredible mobility, high burst damage, and reset potential from fights make her an explosive pick with a ton of power. Thus, we're going to be leaving her in the S tier for now, but we'll make any necessary adjustments next week. And for all of you guys who are in Iron, Bronze, or Silver, Katarina is a huge noob stomper. If you guys really want to climb, I highly recommend picking up Katarina. You can just lay waste to all of your enemies at once, but she's a little bit difficult to play, so if you guys are just picking her up, just make sure you go to ProGuides.com and find your coach to help you learn her and master her so you can climb. Ryze has finally gotten a noticeable buff this time around. His Q's damage has been increased from 65 to 165 to 75 to 175. This is quite a nice buff, as it'll give Ryze some more early game damage as well as some late game power. Because his Q deals increased damage when hitting targets marked by his E, he'll deal either 20 or 10 more damage based on whether or not his targets are affected by Flux. We're going to be moving Ryze up to the A tier because this is really nice damage buff that should help him pop off. We've made one other adjustment to the mid lane tier list by moving Karthus into the A tier. He just got nerfed, and AD mid laners should have an easier time all-inning and picking up solo kills on him as a result. He'll definitely be a much riskier pick, but will still be quite rewarding. For the mid lane, we've got Yone as our top OP pick, followed by Fizz, Vladimir, Zed, Talon, Katarina, Echo, Diana, Annie, Nocturne, and Yasuo in our S tier. Alright, that's it for the mid lane. Now, next we have the bot lane. For the bot lane, let's talk about Varus. His E's damage has been increased from 50 to 210 to 60 to 220, while his R's cooldown has been decreased from 130 to 70 to 120 to 60. Varus has been a very underwhelming pick for several patches now. Earlier this season, he was the most oppressive OP pick. However, he's fallen off since those glory days not too long ago as he received nerf after nerf. Finally, he's going to be getting some love to help him get some of that thunder back. Instead of buffing his Q, Riot has gone ahead and buffed his other abilities so that he doesn't end up becoming outright oppressive again. However, we'll leave him in the C tier for now in spite of these buffs. SAMIRA is off to an incredible start. She's pretty gifted and has a lot going on with her kit, so our analysts have no problems placing her in the S tier right off the bat. That's all we've got for the bot lane, so let's run through the S tier. In our S tier, we've got Caitlyn, Ashe, Jhin, Draven, Ezreal, the Lux and Sona duo, Miss Fortune, Vayne, and SAMIRA. Alright guys, with that said, let's conclude with supports. First up for supports, we've got a nerf coming to Lulu. Lulu's W has been hit pretty hard. The bonus attack speed has been reduced from 25 to 45% to 20 to 35%. Lulu has been too dominant as a flex pick. She's been seeing play in solo lanes as well as proving herself as a top tier support. Overall, it feels like Lulu provides too much free utility and thus her W is taking a hit. The loss of 5% attack speed with a level 1 W won't be that big of a deal, but as the game progresses, the nerf will feel much more noticeable. 10% less attack speed on a max W will definitely make her a bit weaker than before, but will confidently keep her in the S tier in spite of this nerf. Braum, on the other hand, just got buffed this patch. His Q's damage has gone up from 60 to 260 to 75 to 275, and the mana cost decreased from 55 to 75 to 45 to 65. Braum has needed some help for a while now, and I'm glad Riot has finally decided to drop a helping hand for one of our most beloved champions on Summoner's Rift. These buffs to his Q should allow players to play more aggressively and feel a little bit less punished when they do miss here and there. We'll leave Braum in the B tier for now, however, as he's still been struggling quite a bit, and this buff will just help him find his footing. Our support S tier this patch consists of Lulu, Blitzcrank, Senna, Soraka, Bard, Morgana, Nami, Janna, Leona, Alistar, and Lux. All right, guys, with that being said, that covers our 10.20 patch rundown. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe to our channel, and we'll keep you guys updated with that mid-patch update next week and provide you guys with a ton of other helpful content for League of Legends. Once again, if you guys want to find your challenger coach right now, head to ProGuides.com and go book them immediately. They will help you with your climb, and you'll make a new friend as well. That's it for me, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Good luck your next few games, and I'll see you on the Rift.